Hello everyone, this is Mr.arorora, and today's episode we are continuing on our how to make your own D&D miniature from Battle Maze 40 million. So, accidentally one of the episodes I have recorded was deleted. However, we didn't lose much, so let's continue on. Now, I want to put a symbol in front of my chaplain. A cup for with angel wings and a drop of blood on top of it. So let's model that. As you can see, we imported a cube, then we add a subdivision surface modifier. Afterwards, we modeled our simple wine cup or wine altar. I don't know what it's called. So let's do that. And also let's press it down because it's going to be a symbol instead of a literal cup that our character uses. So let's extrude our edges and close our cup up, and we over extruded. Let's fix that beforehand by selecting everything and resizing it. Now it looks like a cup, but however it's too smooth for a cup. So let's select our edges and let's increase their crease size and give them a sharp face. As you can see, much and much better. However, it's not still enough, but it looks good enough now for now. Alright. Now, what we need is, let's place it down and add some wings to it. So, beforehand, I modeled a simple feather. So I'm gonna take that, scale it down, and put it there. Before that, let's model our blood drip. It's so easy, you can't believe it. It's just a simple cube with subdivision surface modifier and extrude and bring it down. And there you go. Afterwards, give it a shade smooth and it's good to go. Also, this is how you make raindrops. A fun fact. Alright, after we're done with our blood drip, let's create our feathers and make little wings out of that to put on our chalice. As you can see from the reference image, we have a similar object, so we press Ctrl S and relocate our origin point. We copy our feather, then we snap it right onto our chalice. Now let's move it to our target object. There you go. And let's rotate it into its place and resize it. But it's not smalling down as I wanted, so let's fix that. There we go. I wanted a little bit more smoothed feather, but also don't forget to make it a little bit thicker. So we don't need to see the rest of our character, so at first let's widen our feather and place it. The reason we put our origin point to the bottom of the feather so that we can move it like this and rotate it while copying it in order to create our little angel wings, as you can see. And let's resize them according to our design. And also let's copy the whole wing, not put it on the other side at first. Let's rotate it at first. Because we don't need to copy it like that and mirror it, but in order to create the inner wings to give it more detail, and let's fill them like this, as you can see. Yes, I know it looks like little lettuces more than feathers, but trust the process. And at the end of the day, when you print this down into a little miniature, it's impossible to model something that tiny without losing so much detail. So this will suffice. So let's give it an auto shade smooth, and voila, we have a simple chalice for our character. Let's crease this seam as well a little bit. There's always room for improvements. Until you're satisfied with the model you made, it's always continue on. And Also, let's put a little cylinder around our cup, and there we go. Let's add some to the holding place as well, the neck of our chalice. Yeah, we added some loop cuts here, and that. Let's extrude them along the normals, so that it doesn't grow into the places we don't want, but I want it to look like a cup that we can hold. That's something that has a grip. So we don't need to worry about those little artifacts because this part is going to be buried right on top of our chest plate. As you can see, it doesn't even fit perfectly. So we need to pull it back a little bit and readjust our wings. And there we go. Looks much better now. Also, I use one of the other helmets I have modeled beforehand, so because modeling a helmet is another thing than modeling a character's body, because it has so much intricate detail, it takes lots and lots of time. So, and the armor prints I have made, don't you worry, I will replicate that in this session or the next one. But we are very close to finishing our project, so stay tuned for that. Now, let's create our angelic wings. I don't want something really huge. Instead, we are going to go for a little characteristic wings. As you can see, it's so simple. I don't even need to explain it from the beginning. So, what we did is we put our center point to bottom of our feather so that we can rotate it in the same axis, all of them in the same axis, to create a dynamic shape while doing it. Also, we don't need to copy everything single, one by one. Instead, we can select some amount, then we can copy them together as well. And let's resize it a little bit and put it on the upper wing. There we go. It's not perfect for now, but when we print it and paint our miniature, we have so much room to put more details into our character right afterwards that. So, at this stage, we need to trust our process, and if you have the vision in your mind, it becomes much more easier to create something like this, much easier. So, like the chalice wings, I did the same trick here as well. I copied some of the feathers and moved them in a different angle in order to give them some definition and 3D shape. Also, we can go in here and manually edit all of them as well, because we use one subdivision surface modifier for all of them, because we join everything together after we put everything down, so that we can have a single object that we can reference to. Now, I'm going to use the single feather again to add more details to my wings, because as is now, it doesn't look like much, but we need more details in order to bring it out a little bit more. So let's do that. As you can see, just copying and rotating. That's all we need to do for now. And before you know it, you'll have a simple wing. Now after we are satisfied with our wings, we can give it a middle modifier to see what it looks like. So at the moment I am satisfied with the design because I don't want my wings to droop down. Instead I want them to rise up because this character is risen up from his long departure from the Imperium. So I wanted to give him a resemblance of a risen angel instead of an angel falling descending down. Instead, I want him to look like an angel that is rising up. So, also I wanted to put a little blood drop and wings to his helmet as well. So, we just copy the ones we did beforehand and put it right there. It will be enough. And we need to realign our wings because they are centered for the chalice when we copied them. So I want them to center our helmet. So let's fix that. Okay, this looks much better. Let's pivot its origin a little bit and adjust it much as we want until we're satisfied. And now it looks much better. Always make sure to realign your parts when you're moving them to somewhere else and using them for something else. So I don't need them to be too wide, so I'm just going to squish them down a little. And yeah. But be careful if you're using another part, make sure that you copied it instead of, like me, moving it to somewhere else and forgetting about it. Let's work on our backpack a little bit more. So it's a smooth cylinder. It's okay, but I want to give it a little bit dimension and armor plating. So we can give it loop cuts and extrude them out. And it looks much better now. So in the last episode that I have lost, I have added some armor trims and put them around the armor and connected them to something like a vox machine right behind our head to amplify the power of our chaplain's screams, because this guy is going to scream like a army trooper, you know, from the old movies like Forrest Gump or Full Metal Jacket. I want you to imagine this character is like that, literally like that, even worse, because this guy doesn't care that if you're alright or not. This guy cares only that you fight and die in the name of the emperor, and everything else doesn't matter. So you're going to ask me, are we going to do anything with the lion cloth, or we're going to leave it like a old wreck like that? No, we will work on that, but at the moment we are just going to give it subdivision surface modifier so that we don't forget about it. At the end, I'm going to apply those subdivision surfaces and sculpt it instead of leaving it like that. So I'm okay with the design of the backpack, so I'm just giving it a little bit more character and depth by giving it panel lining like that and giving it more intricate details. But if you have something much better in your mind, and if you have anything to use as a reference, please do that, because this is not a good practice. This is for me to just finish our model and have a simple backpack, because I already have enough design with the backpack. I wanted to keep it simple. And I already give it wings, so I don't want to over detail the feathers. I mean the backpack. So this is enough. Also, I'm planning to put some warhammer stickers, water slide stickers, I guess they are called, right into some holes. I mean the empty sides of our backpack. Now, these exhaust vents are okay, but they're too blocky for my taste, so I'm gonna just give it some loop cuts and adjust it. So as you can see, these side panels are too squished in together, so let's expand them outward and make sure our mesh follows the flow. There we go. Let's fix the upper side as well. And we don't need to work on the other side because we already have a mirror modifier. So, yeah, having a mirror modifier is amazing. Can you imagine doing every side at the same time? It's a pain. Really good pain in the ass. So, usually chaplains have croziers as their melee weapon and they have skull helmets, but I'm going for a different kind of design. But I will still need to have a crozier, so we can model that. As you can see, I finally realized what is missing here. Our wings. Yeah, the same dumbass modeled these wings forgot that he accidentally take them from here, rip them out and put it somewhere else. So we need to put them back. As you can see, we are not able to resize it properly because we change its origin point and scale. So we need to reapply those things before we can correctly rescale it and resize it. So, as you can see, much better now. Always remember, rescale and scale up your objects every single time, or you run into so many problems. Also, I don't need the both sides at the same time, but I can use a mirror modifier again, but at the moment it's not really necessary, and I'm too stubborn to do that all over again, so this will suffice. Let's re-put them back in their place and re-tweet their location. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this single line, the edges of our lower armor, and I'm going to turn it into trimming of our armor. So, what I'm going to do is convert that into curve. Afterwards, we're going to go into this menu and turn that into this by applying geometry to our simple curve. And just like that, we have a perfect trimming. Simple as that. So I want to give my chaplain artificial muscles, and the lower abdomen will not be seen so detailed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually sculpt some packs for my chaplain and little muscles by giving it loop cuts and adjusting its places. There you go. Now I'm going to use these faces to make my abs by using their face and inverting new faces in there. But to make sure, let's give some more loop cuts. And just like that, we're going to insert our faces. Make sure they're not too little or too big. Just perfect enough. And we're going to give them a little bit rounder shape by giving them a loop cut in the middle, but don't try to resize them all at the same time because it's going to use the center mass of the object and going to resize them according to that. So instead of that, breaking our shape too much, I'm going to individually select the middle size of our faces and realign them. Afterwards, we extrude them, but make sure that it doesn't extrude into something else. We don't want that. Like, just like that. It's not good. Work practice. Also, let's give him some more details. Add little faces here, little extrusions, give them faces. There you go. I mean, this is not a perfect way to do it, but it's a good way to do it. Remember, we are not done, so don't worry about it. Also, realistically, these parts will collide with each other and it doesn't look like this. But, unrealistically, I don't need to obey the laws of reality because this is Blender and I'm going to print this figure. So, whatever happens inside of it, it doesn't really matter long as the outside is good enough. As you can see, just like that, we covered that issue by a belt bucket. There we go. Using 3D softwares are much more of an art than a science at this point because you're creating a design. Yes, in some cases you need to fit in, make sure that your character fits perfectly with everything, but in some cases like this, there's always an easier trick to fix some stuff, like using a belt bucket. Remember those things. Those things are important. And now we are almost ready, so we can work on our croziers, our weapon. So, you might ask, Mr.arorora, in Battle Maze 40 million, there are so many weapons and long-range weapons. Why do these guys fight with melee weapons? And the answer you're going to get is, I'm not sure if you guys are prepared enough for that. Because it looks cool. And I didn't write the damn thing. So remember that. Not everything needs to make sense, long as it brings you joy. And if it fits in the rules of the universe, more the merrier then. So, we're just making a simple crozier. So it's basically a huge chunk of metal, sometimes having little scientific stuff in it. For example, electric generators, shield fields, and other stuff like that. And our merry chaplains use those things to distribute pain and order. As you can see, something interesting happened. We tried to put a sphere there. Not a sphere, but a circle there. But we failed because our model is not applied its transformations, rotation, location, and scale. So we need to do that now. Afterwards, we are going to try that again, and this time it will work much better. But it's not going to work perfectly because this is a square, not a cylinder or something akin to that. So we need to adjust our shape to fix those issues. So let's put a sphere there. I don't need it to be perfect because what I'm trying to create here is a simple maze. And this will work. But of course, make sure that you adjust its rotation and fix its size to make sure it's better. Because we cannot leave every single detail uncared for. Yes, there are going to be some details we are going to not work on that much, but there are going to be details that needs working on it. So, deciding factor on that is your decisions, because at the end of the day, you're going to work on your own project, or if you're working for somebody else, you need to make sure that you fit in their own design and ideology. I mean, not ideology, but what they have in mind. At the end of the day, if you're trying to earn money from this hobby, You need to consider a lot of um, details and choices that you might not agree because their preferences are much different than yours. But the thing about creating a model, you're in the control, but not everything is under your control. Knowing that is good, and knowing that makes sure that your expectations are bearable or understandable because not everything is under our control and not everything is going to be turned out perfect. We need to always know that. So, this is a good shape for now. But we're going to need a handle to hold our crucius. And another thing, yes, as a melee weapon, holding it like an axe is good. But I also want my character to have a huge presence, so why not turn this crucius into a staff? As you can imagine, when Gandalf walks with his staff, like a wizard, he has a huge aura, you know. Like, oh, he has a huge weapon, a staff. How much power does he hold, you know? Also, a staff is really versatile weapon. Like, you can defend with it, attack with it, in so many ways. So, I prefer to have a staff than a simple axe. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give it a little bit more detail by poking faces. But we have so many ways to do this, so let's decide which one is better for now. So I'm trying to select the same faces, but it doesn't work like that. So what I opted for is, instead of poking every single face, let's insert individual faces here. There we go. And poke them afterwards and extrude them inwards. But make sure to align it afterwards you're done. There you go. Now it has a little energy generator thingy. Now, let's give it some loop cuts. I couldn't find the control for choosing inside of every face, but there's a simpler way to do that than this. Sometimes some of us chooses harder ways because we enjoy doing things in the hard way. Yeah, stuff going to happen one way or another, but it depends on what path do you choose, because in softwares like this there are too many ways to do same thing. It just depending on your preferences and which is much better for your design. For me at the moment this is okay. But when you're working on a much bigger project, this is really time consuming and not preferable. But at the moment, I'm okay with that. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I know it's a huge sacrifice, but Mr.arorora is ready to do that. Don't you worry. I am ready. Anyways, now let's resize them outwards. And there we go. Now it has a much interesting geometry. And looks okay by me. I don't know you. It's okay by me. Okay, and let's extrude these. There you go. Now, what we're missing is, I don't want my stuff hitting right directly to the ground, and also while at it, why not add a little blocky shape to the bottom of our staff so that our chaplain, when he walks, doesn't break the bottom of the staff, and whenever he wants, he can smack his enemies with the hilt of the staff. This guy. Can you imagine having a strong metal there and hitting something with it? I bet it shatters so many bones. Brutal as we like. Our imagination is our stop point. Also, croziers usually have feathers, so I'm going to lazy my way out of that, because some things I can lazy out and some things I don't. And I choose to be lazy about this one. So I'm going to choose a face here and put my pivot point there to active. And I'm going to snap my little feathers and wings right in the middle of there. It's okay for now. Let's put our origin point to cursor and yes, realign it. Much better. Let's resize it. You see? The same problem strikes again. And we know how we can solve that. This time I'm not going to talk about good edge flow and workflow. This time I'm going to eat your noggins with applying your rotations and scale, my friend. Because it's important. And let's turn it 180. Also, oh boy, I forgot to turn it 180 correctly. Oh my. Because I don't need to do that. I'm going to delete half of it and use mirror modifier to fix my problem. Once again, mirror modifier is here to save me. What a beautiful tool, isn't it? It's one of our best. Really, it's wonderful. We love him. Or it. Doesn't matter. We love it. Yes. So, right after we're done, and we are satisfied with our wing shape, let's mirror it, and also let's extrude this part so that our feathers buds doesn't look out too much. Let's not overdo it while at it. And there we go. So we need to replicate the same thing to the back side, because this is a 3D object and it has 3 dimensions. Do you know that? Also, when you're copying something that has mirror modifier, it will copy the origin point as well. Another fun fact. We don't need to see the rest of our model. We just need to see this little fella. So I'm going to turn off the mirror modifier for now. And rearrange my mesh. And this time I did it correctly, the 180 thingy. And place it just perfect. There you go. Let's extrude this part so that our feather butts doesn't look out. And now it looks much better. Imagine when we are painting this guy, it will look even better. Because we are going to be able to shade it and add more details to it. Alright. So, I'm going to import a hand from one of my other projects. Because I can. And the way to do it is too easy actually. If you export it in an STL file, and if you're interested in 3D printing, you already know what an STL file is, but if you don't know, when you want to use another thing from another project or another part from somebody else's project, or you found something on the internet and you want to import it in your Blender file, it's actually easy. You can either choose to import it from file directions, or you can just simply click and hold and bring it into your screen and drop it onto the Blender. Easy as that. It's really easy. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that as well in our later episodes. So our arm is too long, so we need to fix that before. we can be satisfied with our shape, because he's a space marine, not a gorilla. He doesn't need two long arms. Also, I can hear some people say, "Why do only male space marine exist?" Go ask James' workshop. They know it better than I. Do you think so low of me to answer that question? No, sir. I'm not brave enough for politics. Like Mr. Obi-Wan said. I'm in it, but I'm not brave enough to talk about it. Alright, after we're satisfied with our little wings, let's apply them and combine this mesh into same object so that we can pose it later on. Other than that, I don't think I have something else for this episode. So, we have created our character and detailed it. In the next episode, I'm going to show you a simple way to pose it and make sure that its details is fine-tuned beforehand before we send it to 3D printing. So, thank you everyone for joining me in for this session. This was Mr.arorora. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye!